doing better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and thanks for choosing to be here on this Wednesday, April 1st. And happy April Fools. If you want a great April Fool's joke, check out the Car Dealership Guy social media posts all everywhere. Acquiring Car Dealership Guy dealership groups. Tongue-in-cheek. Happy April Fools, everybody. And March is in the books. Excited to hear how our guests did and how the industry did. Post your comments into the feed today. Again, we're broadcasting across all CDG social media platforms. We'll bring your comments into today's show. First up from SWAT team, I love it. Let's effing go. Today, we're going to talk used cars, CPO strategies, service sales. We've got two operators with two great strategies you can learn from today. You can implement today. This is one of those episodes where you're going to rethink how you run your store. And before we jump in today, I need a minute because today something is happening that hasn't happened in 54 years. Right now at Kennedy Space Center, 4 astronauts are suiting up, and at 6:24 p.m. tonight, all things going well, weather, all the things, they're launching around the moon. The last time a human traveled this far from Earth, Apollo 17. That was in December 1972. I wasn't born then. No human being has gone beyond low Earth orbit since. That's 54 years. This mission will shatter records standing since Apollo 13. Victor Glover becomes the first person of color. Christina Koch, the first woman. Jeremy Hansen, the first non-American, Canada, nod to the north, ever to travel beyond low Earth orbit. You can watch it on NASA YouTube. It begins at 6:24 p.m. Eastern. Check it out even for 60 seconds, because what happens tonight on that launch pad at Cape Canaveral in Florida isn't just about space. It's about what happens when you refuse to let a vision die. The Artemis program has run $100 billion. That's a lot of money, but it's less than 0.5% of the federal budget. This rocket was scrubbed twice in 60 days. It had hydrogen leak issues, helium issues. They rolled it back, they fixed it, and today things appear to be all go. And today traces back to a speech that happened first in 1962. A then young president looked out at a crowd and said, JFK, "We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard." There was at that time no roadmap, no technology. Many of you have heard me talk on this show. At that time, Russia was going to win the moon race, and everybody seemed to concede that the first words on the moon would be Russian. Even Kennedy had doubts about the cost. He wasn't a huge fan, but he did understand something most leaders never figure out. Bold vision, spoken out loud. It rallies people, it rallies teams, it aligns industries, it forces invention that wouldn't happen any other way. We didn't just land on the moon, we created industries, technologies that we still use today that have made our economy, our country, and the globe better. Plus, we showed the world what's possible when people are pointed towards something bigger than themselves. Now bring us back to us, to the Daily Dealer Live and our auto industry. Last week on this show, a guest said the U.S. might be losing its dominance in the global auto industry. I chuckled, many kind of conceded it. He said that we've gone reactive instead of visionary, because right now, many conversations in this industry are about optimizing what already exists, plus a healthy dose of AI. Nobody's standing on a stage saying, here's what this industry becomes. So when the rocket goes up tonight and you see it, and if you're able to see it, go outside and watch. If you can't watch the live stream, ask yourself one question. Who will be that JFK for automotive in the future? Who is going to challenge this industry to do something hard, something uncomfortable, maybe even something impossible, and mean it? The next 54 years will be shaped by whoever answers that question first. And we want those with that vision sharing it here, selfishly, on the show for the benefit of all our audience. Thanks for letting me rant for a few minutes, but I couldn't be more excited about what's going to happen tonight. So today, auto industry headlines. All right, let's dive into today's auto industry headlines. First up today, a federal judge in California has denied Volkswagen and Scout's motion to dismiss the California New Car Dealer Association's lawsuit, allowing the case to move forward. The court ruled that Scout's $100 reservation program already constitutes competition in the sale of new motor vehicles and rejected the argument that the law only applies after a completed sale. Scout's own general counsel acknowledged the law could prohibit the DTC model in California, which the court noted in its ruling. With a class action suit filed just weeks ago and a Florida case also still active, dealers now have 3 fronts moving simultaneously, and this rule could signal how the others develop. Next up in another news today, Mercedes-Benz USA CEO Adam Chamberlain outlined a plan to grow U.S. sales by 30% by the end of the decade. The goal? 400,000 annual U.S. units backed by $7 billion in U.S. investment. More specifically, the strategy centers on the GLC, GLE, and GLS, a streamlined dealer approach and staying competitive on price. Chamberlain added that Mercedes has raised prices only 1.3% since tariffs hit, well below inflation, and that by leaning in and executing closer retail coordination, they can hit these marks. Up next, a district judge has cleared Stellantis Financial Services to seize $12.3 million in vehicle collateral from Sky Auto's 2 Iowa locations. The alleged double flooring scheme involved transferring vehicles between stores without notifying lenders, letting multiple lenders unknowingly finance the same vehicles, while Sky Auto kept dual accounting records to hide it. Ford Credit has already asked the sheriff's office to seize 10 vehicles under a parallel writ. Naturally, this is a stark reminder that floor plan and inventory financing issues can quickly escalate into a major operational and legal battle, making the need for strong inventory controls, transparent accounting, and clearer lender communications crucial. And finally today, closing out with news from the buy-sell wire, CDG buy-sell, that is. CDGbuysell.com. There, we love it. Girwadi Auto Group just closed on the last of Hello Auto Group's Santa Clarita stores, March 30th. This is a Kia dealership now renamed Kia of Valencia, completing a 3-part divestiture of Hello's entire Santa Clarita platform. Dave Canton repped the buyers across all 3 deals, while Hague Partners handled the sell side. You can learn more about CDG's coverage of all M&A activity across the automotive industry at the full tracker at cdgbuysell.com. And we do love our tracker, so thank you for hooking us back up with that to the production team who's working hard behind the scenes today to deliver today's show. Again, a reminder coming into the comments, let's look at this. We've got yoga cars. I always wondered why we didn't go back to the moon for 50 years. Dan C., I love it. Solid rant, Sam. Thank you. I wasn't quite sure, listen, our effort to go to the moon inspired awe in me as a young kid because it happened before I was born, but the fruits of that, I saw the space shuttle program. We saw satellites, and it's fascinating. There's something about seeing a rocket go up into space that is just awe-inspiring. I don't care if it's Artemis tonight. I'll be watching. I don't care if it's the shuttle of the 80s and 90s. I don't even care. Like Elon Musk and the unfolding of those Starlink satellites over the past few years. You watch that in the sky, and it is truly amazing. And that type of leadership, that type of vision, the automotive industry in the United States needs that today, and I'm excited to see that unfold as those leaders with real vision about the future of this industry stand forward, enunciate that vision, and help us realize an even greater, more powerful industry as a result. So today, though, let's talk used cars. We're going to go first to Jonathan Baird, used car director at John Elway Cadillac. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sam. Appreciate it.
Are you going to watch the launch tonight? I guess I got to pull this thread all the way through. Did you know that there was a rocket being launched tonight, first of all, that people were going to the moon?
I did not know that there was a launch tonight, but your enthusiasm and your rant was amazing. And
there you go.
Not watch it.
There you go. All right, watch and see. Watch and see. It's going to be interesting. They're going to go around the moon and come back. I think it's 10 days or something like that. So pretty cool. So first up, tell us who you are, what you do, and how was March on this first day of April Fool's March?
So again, my name is Jonathan Beard. I'm with the John Elway Automotive Group in Lone Tree, which is a suburb of Denver, Colorado, at John Elway Cadillac. March finished up pretty strong with certified and used cars, a very high demand there in regards to our transition from EV and ICE balance with the market. We finished with 20 certified reported sales, which got us fourth in our region, which includes Arizona, Nevada, California, which puts us in a kind of the realm with the high volume new car dealerships that are typically 50, 60, 70 plus. Finished up pretty well. Never really satisfied, but happy with the result.
Yeah. So you've been, props on your success this past month. You've been very focused. You know, that's interesting. Let's talk about that for a minute. The conversion between EV back to gas. What have been some of the challenges, and what's been your overall goal with that? Like, when did it hit you, hey, we need to make this conversion? And with the increasing price of oil right now, given the war in Iran, are you rethinking that strategy?
It's extremely tough to juggle. Funny with the segue from launching a rocket into space, we can sometimes have some analysis to paralysis on if this is rocket science or not, and how to juggle the market in that sense. But transitioning from EV kind of back into ICE vehicles with some of those incentives going away, gas coming back up, and Cadillac transitioning out of some of their gas ICE models, which are no longer going to be produced as brand new, has kind of built a demand for the used car market, to where not only are some of our guests not as much considering EV vehicles and going back into ICE, but not having options there for new vehicles, which is kind of increasing the demand again on ICE certified pre-owned vehicles. So we're seeing an uptick in demand on our gas vehicles and whatnot. But yeah, it's been definitely a tough timing with a little bit of the war, getting away from EVs, shortage on new cars, oil kind of where it's at, and it's just a moving target.
Yeah, I mean, in your Colorado marketplace, it was never all EV, right? There are some markets, California and others, that were trying to go all in EV. Colorado still loves gasoline, right? So is that dedication to gasoline coming under pressure as gas prices go higher? And do you think there's $1 per gallon where people will start to return back to EV or get excited about EV again fully?
Yep. So surprisingly enough, Colorado is actually the second highest volume market for EVs besides California. I'm
wrong then. Why is that? How is that the case?
We have a lot of state incentives that are unavailable at other states to help push some of our larger Escalade IQ and IQ-L vehicles and our mid-size crossovers that compete with Tesla and stuff like that. So we've actually been very, very high volume, probably 40-ish% at least from a Cadillac standpoint. And now with some of those incentives going away, and anticipating those off-lease vehicles coming back, and some of those residuals being so low, making them more affordable on the pre-owned certified market, which is, we've only had a couple thousand return back as a whole with Cadillac, but they're expecting close to 20,000 throughout the end of the year. So it's definitely something we're monitoring and got our finger on where that affordability structure is going to be compared to jumping back to ICE vehicles. In regards to a dollar amount, I've had friends that are in California that have sent me pictures of $6.89 on gas in certain areas.
Wow.
We just approached like the mid-4 mark. We're around 450-ish or so, which seems extremely high for us. But anything under $4 a gallon or so, I don't think there's an exact price on gas, but more so all over the news and just allowing people to be enthralled with all of that negativity and the market just dictating all of their thoughts.
All right. So we want to talk CPOs, but we also want to talk about this buy center. So you've created a process and a program inside your store where you've said 100% of staff in the dealership participates in street purchases. How does that actually work?
Yeah. So we are a standalone Cadillac store. We don't have any other GM brands with us. So we're standing tall as just a Cadillac store. For us to be able to stock and have to hit our budgets and what we're planning for volume and profit and all that stuff, we need to acquire cars. And that margin compression and that affordability standpoint that everybody's talking about, on how to add that profit to the bottom line. We have to buy street purchases. We have to buy from our service drive. We need to capture our off-lease vehicles. But we are a buying center local to us. But we also have a concierge pickup and drop-off program where our concierge driver has been with us for 20-ish years, has phenomenal relationships with all of our service guests, who is constantly on the hunt for vehicles. Our advisors get incentivized. And
how do you... So break this down for our audience. So first off, what do you say to the dealer or the salesperson or the manager that says, you know what, service drive is old because we've tried it, we've done it, it doesn't yield anything, and everybody's trying to buy that used car off the curb from a customer. There's not any used cars left. What do you say to that person that just says, hey, it's played out. There's nothing left on the tree?
It's always going to be played out if you feel like you're just not getting any results, right? Like if that excitement and that adrenaline is going to feed from those success stories. So you just have to have the law of averages and the buy-in from everybody to have enough of those success stories to where it can breed positivity and competitiveness within the staff. And that's ultimately what has helped us out dramatically, is people just competing within themselves within the store, even within different departments.
So is it incentive based? Do you pay a flat dollar amount for different roles throughout the dealership?
Yep. So not for different roles. We pay the same that we would for sales as we would with our advisors or porters or anybody else.
How much do you pay?
So for non-Cadillacs, we split a $250 buy fee and whatnot. So if it's coming outside of sales, it would be $250. Salespeople get $500. And for certifiable Cadillacs, which are extremely hard for us to come by because a lot of Cadillac volume isn't coming from Colorado. So we're bringing them in from Michigan, California, Arizona.
Stay away from the Michigander volume.
We actually have a $1,000 certifiable buy fee on anything that could be certifiable in our drive or in our store.
So you pay any employee $1,000 for a vehicle out of state certifiable as a CPO?
Anything that's in state that we can have, that we can buy, we pay $1,000 for certifiable Cadillacs.
Very nice, very nice. So, and as an example, last month in the month of March, how many were you able to acquire through means other than auction? So, using this staff purchase model.
We finished with about 30 non-auction purchases through our staff, through outside sources of the auctions and whatnot. So, Facebook Marketplace, the street. Outside of our drive also.
And how many and how many does that compare to auction? Is that about half the volume of acquired vehicles, or what is that?
No, so I want to say we probably had 6 or 7 that we brought in from Michigan and whatnot, from closed GM sales, executive demos and stuff like that. So a huge portion of it is non-auction based, because transport, auction fees, buy fees, that $1,000 has helped us more locally convert people than bringing them in for $2,000, $3,000 over MMR or what it could be.
Are you able to quantify the difference between those acquired at auction in terms of recon and time to speed of sale off the curb versus auction? Do you know that dollar? So
CR results or any type of pre-inspection that we can get often isn't going to match when we get in person. So we can account for that type of stuff ahead of time. And through different CRs or inspections from auctions, as we receive them, they're often incorrect. They're often wrong to meet the certified standard of Cadillac, 172-point inspection. It's where there's surprises. A lot of those are going to exceed $2,500 per copy on recon. We have a door rate of $229, and we have to be able to make them certified. And then once they're here, we're kind of at the mercy of having to fix it no matter what. So those recon costs can be higher. From our street purchases where we can deal with a person, they more often than not can have a walk around with us or a pre-purchase inspection, and we can convey that reconditioning cost, and we can account for that significantly is less, closer to $1,500.
So you mentioned something that is a hot topic on this show: incorrect condition reports out of auctions. How is this happening in 2026 when we're sending people back to the moon, or around it anyway? Yeah. How can a CR report not be accurate on a vehicle being appraised or looked at auction? What's your perspective on it, or your opinion?
My ultimate thought is kind of like how it's rumored to kind of be recalls on new cars and stuff like that, where cars that are made on Mondays can often have a higher recall rate, and cars that are made on Fridays can often be a lower recall rate. We don't know who the inspector is that's going out. We don't know if they're having an awesome day or a bad day. With a lot of the weather in the Northeast and the Midwest, we don't know if they're inspecting these cars in the snow and they're just trying to get through their day. I think some of it is not able to be made sense at this day and age, that we can still have this many discrepancies with the CR. But a lot of it, I think, can be on the inspector.
How do you fix it? Because it's got to be fixed. Like, I've seen so many discrepancies in CRs. I've seen so many problems, even down to, hey, there's 2 keys in this vehicle. It turns out there's only 1 set of keys. Well, you run the math on the cost to buy a key, reprogram it. That's a significant recon cost multiplied over multiple units, right? How do we fix this in the industry? It's a problem.
That could be something that could be quantified as the same type of struggle that it could be to go around the moon tonight on a rocket. I mean,
there you go.
I often say that anything that's unexplainable could be Chinese arithmetic, and I don't really understand.
I don't get it either. Yeah,
I would say half of the vehicles that I do buy from some of these auctions just have dummy keys attached to them, to where physically there is 2 keys, but they're not programmed. The mechanical key isn't cut for that specific car, and that passes the CR to where they weren't even used. And we get those, and they're $479 to replace. And you do that on a car that you're paying a little bit over MMR for, a $1,300 certification fee. An unexpected $600 instantly puts you in a spot where you were already having
your margin.
Little to no profit to compress it even more.
Yeah, there's got to be something we can do in 2026 to fix the problem. And we'd love to have a roundtable on CRs and what the problem is and how we fix it. We'd love to invite you back for that conversation. But note to Hannah, let's get that scheduled up, because I think that'd be a fun conversation to have. So going back to that street purchase, right? There are dealers that are watching this today. Are you training your teams in the stores to go out and do this? What's the message that they're sharing with friends and people across social media? And which channel is best, like most efficient today in April of 2026?
So I think a lot of the times why clients are trying to sell vehicles on their own is they want the retail type number, and they don't want the lowball type number that they could receive at the doorstep of a dealership, or the old reputation of what car dealers are going to be. So we try to compact our word tracks to just be very short and simple. We're going to be awkwardly higher than what you think. And we're going to be, the only difference is going to be reconditioning on your vehicle. Most clients are always going to convey their cars as 10 out of 10s. So we can convey a number that's based on a 10 out of 10. And then we just need to do a quick 15-minute pre-purchase inspection. And the only difference between what we've agreed upon is going to be the reconditioning of the car. So it's not a long, crazy script. It's just very short and compact, because their defense mechanisms are already triggered when we reach out to them. So just very short of, we're going to be closer to where you're at than what you think. And the only difference is reconditioning. And that's when you have the customers selling their car of, I religiously go to the dealership. I have tire and wheel. I have prepaid maintenance. I have extended warranties. And then that's when you could even walk them through cancellations of products to help close in that gap of where you want to be and where they're at.
Okay, so employees bring friends, acquaintances. They're going out to the street. Of those people that come into the dealership for that appraisal, what's your close rate on those off the street? And what's the biggest reason a deal might fall apart in that case?
Yep. So look to book on that type of stuff is going to be in the mid 60s, close to 70%.
Strong.
And for our area of where we're at, where we have snow, we have mag chloride, we have a little bit of rusting, we have hail and whatnot. Not that I want to say that word at this point of the season.
Don't say the word. Don't say the word. Yeah.
And jinx us. But it's any surprises cosmetically mainly. A lot of clients do take a lot of pride in paying for their reconditioning and paying for maintenance and servicing. And that's the high cost that we have to be able to be prepared for. But it's mainly cosmetic differences, to where they didn't know a grill was broken on the car. They didn't know that their sunroof shade was not going to retract correctly, and that's a $1,500 repair. And a lot of the times they're just trying us on to see how thorough our inspection is, because there's a lot of dealerships and bad practices out there where people aren't walking these trades with clients. They're not driving them with their clients to even find those mistakes. And then we blame them and blame the market for not having the money to fix them. But we did it to ourselves in the first place by not inspecting the car correctly.
Yeah. So, hey, a couple comments from online. Paul Salzman asked a great question. He's like, what about using a condition scanner on entering the service department? There's a lot of great tools out there. UVI has a tool, as do I know there's something called, there's another tool, I forget what it's called, but there's multiple tools that can sit as you enter into the service drive and scan the vehicle. Have you had any success with that to help with that inspection? ACV has Viper, I think. Any tools that help with that process?
Yeah, super familiar with UVI and ACV of having that stuff done. And we've even had talks with them sometimes about having a buying event where we can have some of their inspectors on site to where we can utilize their technology and try to maximize purchasing in one day, and perhaps have 30 cars show up on one day, maybe put a little bit of money into a spend or whatnot to make an event out of it, to capitalize of not having that cost. UVI is amazing, but at our store on where we're at, the cost sometimes is always considered, right? But I think the way that we've tried to overcome that a little bit is knowing the vehicles, knowing more often than not reputations of cars, what issues are on cars, and having a team that's been together for close to 10 years. A lot of us speak the same language. We know the same languages. We've had the good successes of catching stuff, and we've all been burnt on our mistakes before. Yeah. And it's just understanding that we don't do the same mistake twice.
Yeah. All right. One thing that stands out, and then we got to wrap, because we'll have you back for the roundtable at the very end. So one of the things that stands out about your organization is your speed to lot on these used acquisitions, whether it's CPO or it's vehicles purchased off the street. You're doing a great job of getting cars clean, stickered, priced, and photographed within hours of acquisition. What does that operation look like? Who owns that task?
Yep. So the salesperson, used car manager, and our lot porters, we ultimately have a system that's down pat to where as soon as the deal is signed upon and logged for F&I, those plates are coming off. We're getting those cars rinsed off. We're doing quick vacuums on those cars. And we more often than not are waiting for the guest to get out of finance before we publish the car online, because the last thing we want to do is have that feed even hit our website fast enough and the guest isn't even burning gas in their replacement vehicle yet. But it's literally within hours.
And I would think that speed to the lot in terms of getting all those steps completed has something to do with your fast turn time. We go to a lot GPT stat. It says John Elway's Cadillac on brand, so that would include CPO and Cadillac used moves. It's 15 days faster than market competitors. Is that part of what's creating that advantage in the marketplace? Your acquisition process and then your speed to market or speed to lot, or is there something else that's driving that 15-day faster result than market?
Merchandising, obviously, we're obsessed with merchandising. We feel like you can't sell what you can't see, whether that's on the lot in person or online. So when we're purchasing these vehicles and whatnot, we have a very, very strict 60-day turn. And if we're at 7 to 10 days on those cars coming out, I've already consumed 10 to 15% of our allotted time to sell these things.
Yeah, not a lot of people see that. Yes, you're right.
When I get the car, if I'm feeling like I'm already 8 days behind, there's too much anxiousness with that. It's easier for us to just work up front and get it online immediately. Yeah. And with us having to purchase some of these cars and the price point that we're in right now and what we're experiencing in the market, is kind of the margin compression of something that's 60, 70 grand that's a V8. And we need to be able to price these cars secondarily just as fast and just as aggressive so that we can acquire trades of lesser values that can maybe have faster turn times also. But it's just pricing them out of the gate below the market up front, and understanding that it's not just this, but if we can flip this trade in or flip this street purchase 2 to 3 times this month, we're going to be huge.
Yeah, which, you've got a strategy that says, hey, we're going to price vehicles to market. We're not going to price up from cost. You seem to be disciplined in that stance. Do you ever take grief from ownership or anyone else you're accountable to for taking a loss if the market dictates it, regardless of what you bought it for?
100%. I mean, they're obviously, what's always good for the goose isn't always good for the gander, and vice versa sometimes, to where we need to ultimately think in a big picture when we have Iran and EVs to ICE and margin compression and oil where it's at, to where my true cost has absolutely nothing to do with what it's going to sell for. And if I acquire them on a street purchase where my front end PVR or my F&I PVR can be double what they are at the auction, I have to assume with volume that's going to balance itself out, and just hope that I get enough of those street purchases into the month to help offset some auction purchases. But it can't be dictated based on my pride or what I own the car for. I have to sell that quickly, and even faster if I have no profit, or if I'm pricing that car at a $500 loss immediately because of all the expenses. Looking at that secondarily deal that's coming versus this problem now, and just hanging on to it for 3 weeks or a month or something.
Yeah, pricing vehicles at a loss is a problem of our new age and new era. Jonathan Beard, used car director at John Elway Cadillac. We'll have you back for the roundtable at the very end of the show, but we appreciate you coming on today to share your perspectives on all things used cars, CPO, vehicle acquisition, including fixing your team up to go out and buy the best of the best vehicles in their own social circle. Jonathan, thanks for being on today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Lots of great comment online. In fact, we'll ask this. Yoga Car says, do you shoot video for every new and used vehicle? We'll have that as part of the roundtable, so that'll come up. And I do think that the condition scanner from Paul, that's a great question as well. Dan C. also says, aren't the people who perform the CRs certified? You know what? Any of the auction providers that are doing CRs, I'd love to hear the perspective on that. I just have this hunch. There's so much variance in some of these CRs, and in narrowing margins, it makes it tough to price vehicles right and understand what you're buying and get aggressive enough or not aggressive enough without knowing the true condition of the vehicle. As Jonathan said, there's not enough margin in used cars right now to ship it, recon it, put it on the lot, and not know that CR, not be able to have faith in it, not be able to act on it. And unfortunately, if you're shipping across country, you can lose your shot at ARB too if the CR is not right once the vehicle hits your lot. But let's talk Overfuel. Today's episode is brought to you by Overfuel. Most dealerships' websites, well, they suck. They're slow, clunky, and hated by both shoppers and Google. Well, Overfuel, they cracked the code. Lightning fast, AI-powered sites built to attract, convert, and dominate every search experience. Is it time for a new website? Go to overfuel.com and use code CDG500 in the comment box for $500 off. We appreciate Overfuel and supporting today's content, including that conversation with Jonathan on all things used vehicle acquisition. And again, we'll have Jonathan back at the end of the show as part of the roundtable. But right now, we'll turn to a repeat return guest, Greg Johnson, General Manager at Mohawk Honda. Greg, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys getting this set up.
It's good to have you back. It was good to see you at NADA, and what an environment selling wise we're in right now. A lot has changed even since NADA. Before we go into the meat of our content today, tell us how was March in your store, Mohawk Honda?
March was awesome. We had a little bit of a slow start. The weather in the Northeast was cold, but a strong finish. 564 cars. So 349 new and 215 used. So it was a super strong month, and we're sitting at number 4 in the nation for certified cars year to date.
Oh, awesome. Number 4 in the entire country among Honda dealers. Interesting.
Yeah, and when I was on the last time, we were sitting at number 9, so we're climbing the ranks.
That is strong. In fact, so last time you were on, you were talking about acquisition of vehicles. You were talking about your service to sales strategy. Would love to learn more about the CPO piece, but before we go into that, tell us a little bit about how that service to sales strategy is progressing.
Sure. So when I was on last, we were talking about acquiring a ton of cars at the auction, 60 to 80 a month to fulfill the need we had here at the store. And I knew there was a better way. We've been trying to tweak the process with the service to sales handoff. And we were doing 25 or 30 a month. And we do 3,000 customer pay and warranty ROs a month. And I knew there was way more potential. So change up the people, the process, and the pay plans, and align that. And we just finished with March with 75 acquisitions out of the service drive, which was incredible. But it comes down to the people. We have 2 bodies back there. One was a salesperson. One we got who was a greeter at a gym, bubbly personality. And they do a phenomenal job at just having a soft touch with the customer, but being extremely transparent. And we discovered that the more information we could give a service customer up front, the better chance we had of converting them over. And by this, I mean, we use Automotive Mastermind for our equity tool. And we go in, and if somebody is in a phenomenal position to upgrade, we give them the numbers. Here's the numbers, here's your estimated trade, and here's the new deal. And just being that transparent instead of, oh, do you want to look at a new car? What do you think? Like, here's the hook. Like, boom, like you can upgrade and keep your payments same or similar. Why wouldn't you?
So step one, you said, is to have the right person doing that meet and greet. And it's not it's not your traditional salesperson that's trying to get that new car sale. It's literally somebody that makes the customer feel at home and comfortable. And then second, it's giving an appraisal on the vehicle. Is there technology that you're using outside of the equity money tool to do that? Are you using some sort of a scanner or a condition report generator, or is there something that is texting the quote back to the customer?
Sure, great question. So we partner with AutoHub, which will automate appraisals as long as it meets the criteria that we've set forth. And it's a great tool. You can always go through and if you're looking for a specific car, up the value that you're offering for those cars. So that's the first engagement with the customer. When they check in, a text will automatically go out and say, hey, would you like an appraisal on your car? And it doesn't miss anybody. And if they engage and say, hey, we want an appraisal, we have a slight delay on the system to where it doesn't fire it back immediately, but we will actually go find the customer in the waiting area and proceed with an appraisal. But if we're super busy and we can't do that right at that moment, boom, within 2 minutes, it fires back a $500 range of an appraisal if we don't get the human interaction in there first.
How does the technology know whether you're busy or not, whether to do it fast or slow? Is there a human intervention at that point, or is it based on deals on deck?
So what happens is when a customer engages and says, hey, we want an appraisal, we can go in there and say, boom, check the box that we're going to go out and do a human interaction and stop the system at that point.
Okay. And then is the appraisal itself, a used car manager, an expert in the service lane, who's appraising the vehicle, putting the number on it?
Sure. If we do it automatic through AutoHub, that is a range that we've set up based on MMR and Kelley Blue Book, a combination, and we found the right parameters that work for most of the appraisals. But if we stop that system and go out and do the human interaction, yes, my used car managers will go out and do an appraisal right on the spot.
What's your strategy as it relates to putting a number on the vehicle? So I've had conversations with a few of our GMs. Do we go super aggressive? Do you go average? I think a tendency of a typical used car manager is to underappraise something in the service drive because they sort of assume it's a captive customer. I think that's the wrong approach in 2026. Yes.
Yeah, you have to roll out the red carpet. If you're willing to pay the moon for a car at the auction and fees and transportation, pay the moon for a car that's in front of you, that you see, you touch, you smell, you know what the recon's going to be. These cars, I can't tell you how easy they are to resell in the used car market too, because a customer comes in, they look at the Carfax and they're like, oh my gosh, it was bought here, it was serviced here, and it makes it such an easier sell compared to going and buying a car at the auction. There's no service history. Oh, this car came from Kentucky. Oh, know nothing about it.
So as you ramped up that many of used vehicle acquisition, that's a tremendous number. A question from the comments. Paul Salzman says, what percentage of service volume is 75 cars? That's really great.
Sure. So the way I broke down the math, I was actually talking to Brian Kramer about this last week, and we have the same philosophy. 15% of the customer ROs, we want to get appraised. If we can get 15% to engage, I want to acquire 20% of those. So if I've got 3,000 CP and warranty ROs a month, I'm going to acquire, based on that math, 90 of them. So my goal is between 90 and 100 acquisitions a month. But I got to get 15% of the people to say, I want an appraisal.
Yeah. And is that bearing out, or are you having to push for that, or does that seem to be the natural demand? 15?
It seems to shake out right around there between that, 13, 14, sometimes upwards of 20% appraisal rate. And then the team just locks in. Part of it was the culture too, because in the past, a salesperson would get walked out, somebody that was in for service, and they wouldn't convert right away. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is a waste of my time. I can't believe it. Don't bring me any more of those customers. No, you almost have to beat it into them. Like, these are going to be good deals, good customers. The time to sale sometimes is a little bit longer when you average them together. Some people are taking it same day, but we do look at the ROI reports, and it's saying that the average day to sale is a little over 10 days with some of these customers converting. So you got to stick with it. You got to do the follow-up.
And then I asked the question of Jonathan earlier. What do you say to the dealer today that's watching the show that says, yeah, I'm familiar with the acquisition strategy in the service lane, but every time we try to do it, we kind of piss our customers off. They're getting all these different text offers for trade-ins and salespeople bothering them, and let's just leave our customers in service alone. Is that a mistake, or is that a viewpoint with some merit in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to look at their used car operations in those stores, because I guarantee they're missing opportunity. Yeah, it's a soft approach. We're not hard selling. We're not pushing. It's a very, very soft approach. And out of 100 customers, we might get one person that's like, leave me alone. But yeah, that might even be high.
Yeah. Yoga Cars comes into the comment and says, do you have a dedicated employee for that service drive acquisition? And then continuing, do you have a dedicated employee? And then what does compensation look like on that?
Sure. So we have 2 dedicated employees that work our service drive all day, and one manager that oversees them. Their compensation is an hourly rate, a per car acquisition, and then a month-end bonus based on volume.
And as you've stood up this process, as you've gotten this engaged into the service drive, what's a couple of the biggest lessons you've learned where you tried something and you're like, that did not work? Like, we thought it would, but it didn't. Were there any lessons learned as you went down this road that you had to kind of tweak?
There's a ton of them. I mean, where do I start? How much time do you have?
10 minutes. No, I'm kidding.
No, I would say one thing that is super important that a lot of people overlook is making sure that your service advisors get paid on the internals on the cars that you're taking in. Because this customer will come in and you're essentially taking money out of the service advisor's pocket if they're not paid on the internal for it. And that's one of the easiest and quickest ways to get pushback from service, and service advisors are like, no, you're not taking this customer. Like, I'm not going to help set you up. But the second that you start paying them on the internals on those, they are so bought in. They walk people to our exchange consultants and say, hey, this person's interested, because they know that they're not going to lose out on anything.
Yeah.
So
that's
a big lesson.
The exchange consultant ends up selling the car, or it turns to a salesperson at that point. It turns to a sales, right?
They're just the concierge, and they turn them over to the sales consultants. I have a super long tenured sales staff, and most of them are still here that sold the car originally, and we try to get it back to the original salesperson.
Yeah. So I have a note here. Last time we talked, I showed you were up $210 in RO, but I don't recall what that metric was tied to. Is that held?
Service is definitely rocking. We implemented that greeter system that I talked about the last time, where somebody pulls into the drive. Our greeters have iPads. The customer is greeted by name. We know exactly what they're here for. Hey, Joe Blow, you're here to see Doug today. He's got you ready for your oil change, your tire rotation. Let me go grab Doug. Doug comes out. He's got his pre-write all done. He knows what they declined the last time. That was a huge upswing for us in our service department. And we saw growth immediately when we put that greeter system in, because people don't want to drive into the service drive and be like, oh, do you have an appointment?
Yeah,
what are you here
where
for?
do we go? Yeah.
No, hey, I see that you're here for this, boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden their guard comes down, and it's a much easier conversation.
Yeah, yeah. I also think last time we talked, you were targeting 800 units, right? That was your big rally cry, your goal. You hit 650 last March. Is 800 still the goal? Is that the target?
800 is still the goal. We talk about it all the time. Near term 700, long term 800. I know we can do it. We've got the people. It's just executing the process 100% of the time. And I talk about that to the staff a lot. Sometimes it's like whack-a-mole. We'll take a process, we'll make sure we get it dialed in, and then we move on to the next one. And it's like, oh boy, here comes this mole back up, whack it again.
Yeah.
But I want to buy one of those for the showroom, honestly, to have a whack-a-mole game out there. But no, the people in the process make all the difference. And the staff is ready. They know the marching orders, and they know what we're trying to do.
Yeah. All right. So related to fixed ops and that experience and service, Eager K comes in with a comment. How are you guys doing with tire sales? Most dealers are struggling with selling tires. So I'm wondering how you guys are doing with that. Do you have a particular strategy? Great question from Eager.
No particular strategy. I mean, during the winter months up here in the Northeast, we obviously sell a ton of tires. The first snowstorm that comes out and people are sliding off the roads, they're coming in and buying tires. Our tire sales are pretty consistent. We're one of the top performers with Honda for tire sales. So I don't think it's anything that we're doing out of the ordinary other than, presenting people. You talked about it earlier, UVI. We've partnered with UVI. And every single person that drives through the UVI machine, and it tells tread depth and alignment and everything. And it makes it a super easy sell for tires. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You've been on, this is your second time on. We appreciate you being on. What's the next big thing you're working on here, Greg, before we go to our ground? I might've lost Greg. The producers. Okay, there you are. The producers were thinking I was queuing up the round table. They're super good because they're on this thing. But as we wrap up, Greg, what's the next big thing you're concerned about as you're thinking about the rest of 2026 and seeking to solve within your team to help ensure you guys are producing at an elite level at Mohawk Honda?
Sure. Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of people are scared of is used EVs. And I think you touched on a little bit with the earlier speaker, but there's a huge market for these. And the prices are going to be so cheap on them that I think if you're not in the used EV game, you are going to miss out. Okay. I could get egg on my face for that one, but I really think used EVs are going to be a big portion of business when they all come off lease.
So, all right, let's trigger that with a roundtable. Let's bring Jonathan back in, because actually on that, I want to actually have a conversation on EVs. I was shocked to learn that Colorado had such a robust EV sale market. I haven't been there forever. I did grow up and lived in Utah, which is neighboring, and it's definitely, it's got EV adoption, but it's not to the extent, nowhere near California, right? So what's your take? I have an opinion on used EVs. Are used EVs the pot of gold as they come off lease in affordability, or will demand for EVs under this Iran war and closing the strait, are they going to increase as gas prices go up? Jonathan, what's your take?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that Hyundai and Kia off-lease EVs have an under 30-day market day supply because they are coming back so cheap. And I know Honda has a couple vehicles that are coming back extremely inexpensive and whatnot as well. And if we can get, I've been saying that I don't think that until these off-lease vehicles are being sold back from the leasing companies, we might not see as strong of incentive on the new ones until we help them flood them out. And they're going to be really incentivizing us towards like our stair step money and different ways that we're compensated to help them with that. And these residuals are coming back so low. I had a client that recently bought a Cadillac Lyric, which was German Car of the Year. We sold a ton of them. It was amazing. She was unsure on how her experience was going to be at the dealership because it seemed too cheap. It was less than 50% of the MSRP. That was 73 grand, and it had 12,000 miles on it. And she thought we were going to have an addendum or some type of catch to it. And she was just the most pleasant, easy buying experience that we had last month. But they're coming back so low residual wise. I definitely think across the country, but Colorado in general, to where the money's going to keep incentivizing clients to buy them.
So residuals are low, but just because it comes off lease at that doesn't mean the lease company has to flip it at that, right? It almost reminds me of some of the lease buyouts during COVID, right? The banks refused to turn them back to the dealership. There was two prices, back to the consumer, back to the dealer. I'm seeing this, Greg, in the comments. P. Moreau 58 says Honda just reduced Prologue MSRP by $7,500 across the board.
Yes.
Will we see low residuals being raised by the OEMs as lease returns as demand increases, if it increases? And where do you see the opportunity, Greg, in used EVs?
Used EVs, I've been telling this to Honda for a while. I envision this, that there's a subvented lease program on a certified EV. And I think that's really where you're going to capitalize, because people are coming out of these leases that are $299 a month, $349 a month, and they didn't put a whole lot of money down.
Yeah.
If they're coming off lease at 25 to 30 grand, the payment's much higher than that. So they need to do a subvented lease program on the certified EVs. And it's going to be attractive. $199 a month with not a ton of money down, and release it again. I think that is the sweet spot that a lot of people are missing in this.
Jonathan, is $199 the sweet spot? There were a lot of comments that came in during your part where they said, hey, basically leases in Colorado were net zero for a time during highly incentivized. Is that true? And will they move it even 100 some odd bucks a month used?
Yeah, so a lot of these Nissan leases and stuff that we've seen, I mean, there was like $19 Nissan Leaf lease deals and whatnot. But as they're coming back, we've been talking about this with our executive management team on the dealer board level to how they can incentivize us. They're currently doing that now on purchasing them off lease, obviously still at a little bit of a higher amount that we're comfortable with, but some type of vetted program, interest rate, and there's even talks of maybe trying to waive any type of certification fee or anything else like that to help us unload them for sure. But I think from a luxury standpoint, being a little bit different from Honda or Kia or Hyundai, our cars are a little bit more expensive. And if we can get these back off lease, where we were leasing them at $400 on a $75,000 car, and we can get them back with no money down, financing it at $500 a month, being certified, it's amazing. And try to include some type of charging station or anything else like that.
So I think it's interesting. Both of you have talked about this more as a cure for payment affordability, not the fuel piece, right? It's fascinating to me because I was in automotive retail in 2008 when gas went to $5. And at $5, everybody sold their Tahoes and their Suburbans stupid cheap. They just dumped that inventory. I don't think there's that same dollar ceiling today in the fuel economy side. I think people will continue to buy and just kind of accept it as sort of just cost of doing business in automotive. Do you agree, Greg?
I do. I mean, everything has gotten more expensive. I mean, there's nothing that hasn't gone up in price. So I think people are getting a little numb to it. Luckily for us, Honda has the most fuel efficient fleet in the U.S. So
there you go. Promotion.
It comes to that. So I'm not worried there.
And Cadillac has one of the more EV-friendly Ford in the fleet right now. All right, so let's talk inventory sourcing. Jonathan says go outside for store inventory. Greg said it's already in your service lane. Who's right today in April of 26?
I think I'm right.
I don't think it's ever enough. And if we were being hosted here talking about crushing both of them, we'd probably be in Barbados or something and not even.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So what could you both?
We do buy a bunch off the street too. I mean, I think last month we did like 35 or 40 off the street through our ICO program. So we are doing both.
So it's somewhere in the middle and or both. We'd be expat somewhere retired if we crushed it at both today, right?
Yeah, right, for sure.
So which scales faster in your both opinion in April of 2026? If you had to focus on one lane, street purchases or the service lane, which one could you get up and running faster? Both of you had great examples. Jonathan, you on the street, and Greg, you in the drive. If a GM watching wanted to just scale it quickly, who could scale faster?
I would think the service lane you could scale quicker because the customers are already coming in. They're coming to you. You're not going out to get them. So if you have 50 service appointments a day or 100 or 150, whatever the number is, those are all people that are already coming to see you.
Although I'm going to challenge you because I think one of the biggest hurdles to service lane acquisition is mindset of your team. And also putting the right process in place where you don't bug the heck out of your customers. And you got to solve for both those you have. But that's not easy. It's not simple. It's not easy, right? So
correct. But I'd much rather do that. I mean, the service lane, you get a retail trade 90% of the time. Most of them are in wholesale. And you get a retail deal out of it versus going and buying a car off the street. You're just getting one deal. When you get a service acquisition, you get two.
Yeah. Jonathan, has your mind changed?
It's definitely catching a customer at a different point in their cycle or their ownership time. It's where when guests are coming in, being able to be on a Honda that has a phenomenal resale value and you can swap keys like that with great programs, that's very, very easy. From a luxury standpoint, we would love to do that, but GM and Cadillac haven't won any residual awards in the last couple of years or anything else like that. But with my staff, you stress the staff part. There is a confidence that is instilled within our staff when they feel like they're the customer. And it's a role reversal standpoint. And customers then are trying to do what we do for a living. And they've already ran into some experiences where they want a customer to meet them at Cabela's in a parking lot at 9 o'clock at night or something. And it's just not working.
Yeah. So Jonathan, tell me this, you bring up residual values, and I think it's an interesting comment. We had the head of GM on this show at NADA, and he talked about their discipline in production. And, you know, there are some OEMs that are overproducing today. We could probably list those off. They've gone into stair step and some pretty extreme methods to try to move inventory outside of demand. GM, it seems, is exercising a lot more discipline. Would you rather have more new cars, or would you rather have them protecting, or at least making efforts to protect residual by limiting production? And do you think that will work long term, Jonathan?
I think through the last 7 or 8 years or so, when we've had COVID and microchip shortages, and now the war and gas and oil and everything else, the cure for us not having high volume new car leasing the answer has been CPO, and the answer has been used cars. So I think from an affordability standpoint, especially at this time and age right now, if we have about a 60-day supply of new cars right now, if that. We're still doing a lot of ordering every month. Those orders are coming in fairly quick, but we probably have a 10-day market supply of Escalades, which can help drive that demand on used cars. But I think our answer to volume is CPO used sales, because we don't have those lease programs that are there because we don't have an overday market supply of stuff.
It's new like with the CPO, right? It is
it's
new
previously
like.
enjoyed.
Yeah. Marv 48 comes in and says 58th Street purchases last month from an Arizona store. So he's definitely seeing your side. And then I've got a Mannheim comment we'll bring in towards the end of the show today. But all right, question for both of you. You give me your perspective on this. We'll start with Jonathan and then Greg. So who has the biggest advantage for the rest of this year, 2026? Dealers with strong fixed ops, well-run, well-executed, or aggressive acquisition teams? Let's pit those two ideas against each other. Jonathan, first up.
I guess the first way to think of it is if you're signing the front of the check or the back of the check, right? So with market day supplies being down a little bit, that demand being there, but fixed absorption and whether there's any ways to retain more profit on your service side with affordability and the average transaction prices on a used Cadillac being at 47 grand and brand new being at 72 grand. I would think definitely net bottom line would be on the fixed ops side. But I do think that the percentage of our internal that pushes all of those KPIs comes from street purchases. So
you want both. You want both sides. All right, Greg, give me your take. Strong fixed ops or aggressive acquisition?
Strong fixed ops all day. You know, I'm a fixed ops absorption guy. Let's make sure we're absorbed. There's so many ways to dial in fixed ops that people are missing to just get a little more juice out of the squeeze. And I think a lot of dealers miss it. And I think it's a huge opportunity for everybody. But if you can get your fixed dialed in, you got nothing to worry about.
All right. So question for both of you as we wrap up today. And again, thank you both for being on. What are dealers getting wrong about used cars today in April of 2026? We'll start with Greg, then end with Jonathan.
What are they getting wrong? They're still buying cars at the auction, paying too much for them and having those CR issues. And I think that a lot of dealers struggle with shop to lot times. And they're still, if they actually looked at the numbers, it's taken them 10 days to get this car merchandised. And that's
too long.
9 days.
Too long.
So way too long. You know, when I look at it for us, our break even is right around 27, 28 days. So if it takes 10 days to get a car to the front line, that's a third of the time I have to sell a car. Like, so we're right around 3 days. I wish it was better, but that's, you know, that's where we're at right now and something we're consistently pushing.
And Greg, you got a comment from Gaines02. My guy, Greg, great GM and great leader. So, Jonathan.
I went through NADA Academy with him. Great guy.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Jonathan, your perspective.
Yeah, so I think ultimately if we're going to miss an appraisal from a competitive store or a CarMax or something else like that for $500 and then have a sloppy process where our holding cost is going to be greater than what we missed the appraisal on in the first place, it's just pride at that sense. And I think the momentum that could be built from not missing that street purchase or that service lane purchase, that energy and that competitiveness that'll then breed within our team is just not missing opportunities.
I love it. Jonathan Baird, used car director, John Elway, Cadillac, Greg Johnson, repeat return on Daily Deal Live, general manager at Mohawk Honda. Thanks to both you gentlemen for coming on the show to talk about all things used cars, fixed ops, and the like. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
And to you, our Daily Deal Live audience, thank you for being here on April 1st, April Fools. And it's not a joke. For heaven's sakes, go outside if you're able, if you're in the view, line of sight. Watch this thing go up into space, take humans around the moon and back. It is an extraordinary feat by any measure. Otherwise, you can go to NASA and watch it online. To you, thanks for watching Daily Deal Live, where we always break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen, as we did today. Don't forget, we're here live every Monday, Wednesday. That means we'll be back this Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We got a special guest for you. Excited to bring that up. So if this is your world, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for being here, everybody.